By now, everyone has heard of ChatGPT. Our students are already using it, so I think it's time for us teachers to find some ways to use ChatGPT to our benefit. Today, we're going to make ChatGPT simple for teachers. We're going to start off with the very basics, and then I'll show you a few ways that you can use ChatGPT to save you a little bit of time in your classroom. The first thing that you want to do is Google ChatGPT. Once you do that, it'll take you to openai.com. When you click on that, you will access the features of ChatGPT. Now, down at the bottom, you'll see create an image, summarize text, brainstorm, analyze. Then you have more options. So signing up for the account can be super beneficial to give you a lot more options with your data. Now, before we even get into anything with ChatGPT, I do want to make sure you understand that it does not know you. It doesn't know what kind of responses you want back. It doesn't know how you are thinking through the processes. It knows nothing about you. It's a program that's been trained on a bunch of knowledge and it can form things together. But if you want it to be more specific to what you like, then you can go into the settings and modify some of it so that way it gets to know you a little bit better. It can learn things like what type of work you do. So is it going to form its responses in an academic setting, an engineering setting? It's trying to mold itself into giving you exactly what you want, but it can't do that unless it knows some things about you. Now, if you don't feel comfortable doing this is totally optional, and you can tell it over and over again what kind of responses you want. But to save you some time, if you want to give it a little bit of information, you can change and modify that in your settings. So if you go to the top right-hand portion of your screen, you'll see your little icon with your first and your last name in there. When you click on that icon, it gives you some options. So there are different versions and different products within ChatGPT, and we'll look at that in a second. The second thing is to customize ChatGPT, and this is where you can go to see all of your modifications so it can form responses based off of how you would think through the concept. When you click on that, the first thing that you'll see is what should they call you? If you want them to call you something fun, go ahead and put that in there. The second thing is what do you do? Now, you don't have to be super specific with this, but are you a student? Are you an academic instructor? Are you an engineer? Are you a safety coordinator? So you can put in some information so that way it's trying to gear its processes and its thoughts toward how you would think through them. And then what traits should ChatGPT have? Do you want it to be formal? Do you want it to be funny? How do you want it to give its information? And you can put that in there. It gives you options, straight shooting. Do you want it to be encouraging? Do you want it to think like Gen Z? So it has a lot of capabilities in the way it can form responses. So you can continue going down there and customize whatever information you feel comfortable giving, and that will help enhance the responses just a little bit. The next section to look at are the settings within ChatGPT, and we'll just quickly go through these. I'm not going to go through all of them, but if you click on the settings section, you have general settings that you can customize, personalization, how you want the speech to be customized, your data controls. If you want to connect any of your apps, it can pull things from OneDrive, from Google Drive. So you can connect any of that information right there inside of your settings. The last thing before we get into the actual software, in the top left-hand corner of your screen, you'll see your navigational pane. Whenever you start chats, they will show up over there in the left-hand side. You can hide that or show that. The next thing over to the right is the magnifying glass. This will search through your chats. If you have a lot there, obviously we don't have any right now, but if you have a lot of chats and you're trying to find specific responses, you can search through those. And then the next one to the magnifying glass is the new chat. So whenever you want to start a brand new chat, you can start that by clicking on that button. Then if you click on the ChatGPT heading right there, you'll see that right now we're just in the free version. There is a plus version that does have more capabilities available to you. You do have to pay for it. If you do see the worth in that, you can upgrade, but we're just going to stick to the free version. Then you have the option for a temporary chat. With the temporary chat, this doesn't appear in your history, so it doesn't get saved, and the data that you use or give in these chats, it does not get used to train the other models. So it's like pulling up an incognito window and using that. Now that we know a little bit about the structure of ChatGPT, let's go ahead and start our first chat. My very, very first piece of information to you is no matter who you are, a student, a teacher, an engineer, when you're going to give a chat, Be as specific as possible. That's going to help generate the responses that are geared specifically to whatever you're looking for. For example, I'm going to start off with a general chat and then I'll make it more specific so you can see exactly what we're looking for. Now keep in mind, this video is geared towards how to make ChatGPT more simple for teachers. So all of my examples will be things that you could use in your classroom. Most of us like to start our class periods off with a bell ringer. So when we have attendance to take or minor things that we need to do at the beginning of class, homework checks, we don't want our students just doing whatever they want because that can go absolutely crazy. So we want to give them an activity for us to do. It can be time consuming to try to come up with bell ringers every single day. There's only so many resources out there. You can only pay for teacher pay teacher so many times for all of these resources. So we can use ChatGPT to give us some ideas and then create our own bell ringers. So the one that I'm going to describe here is to just create a bell ringer for science class. Now keep in mind, this one is going to be my very broad chat just to see what it pulls up. When I say create a bell ringer for science class, you'll see the response that it gives me. Now it does give me a bell ringer and it's talking about a mysterious substance. A scientist discovers a new substance with the following properties. It gives the properties and then it asks a question. So based off this, what state of matter is this substance in? Could be good, could not be good, depending on what class you're teaching. So it just says science. Are we talking about earth science, physical science, chemistry? What type of science do we want? So it's pulling information, but it's not geared towards your specific class or specific age group because it doesn't know that. So if I take that same concept and make it a little bit more detailed, create a 3-minute bell ringer for a 12th grade chemistry class that focuses on chemical bonds. Not only did I give it a time, I also gave it a specific subject. I told it the level of that subject, so 12th grade, and then I gave it a specific area that we're talking about. So now this bell ringer should reinforce my concept that I taught yesterday on chemical bonds. Now when I do that, you'll see that it's going to produce a very, very specific bell ringer geared toward my 12th grade chemistry class on chemical bonds. So when you're using ChatGPT, no matter what subject, no matter if you are academics or not, be as specific as you possibly can with what you're searching for so that it can bring back those correct responses. Not only can we use ChatGPT for those small activities, but we can also use it on a larger scale. So this time I'm going to create a prompt that says, create an intermediate challenging escape room. So I told it the level of escape room I wanted for Algebra 2 students, so the class, that covers inequality and complex numbers. This worksheet should take about 20 minutes, so being as specific as I can with the instructions so that it brings back exactly what I'm looking for. When I put in that prompt, you see it gives me an entire escape room with different challenges for the students to do. Each challenge will give me a code, and at the end, the codes put together will unlock them out of the imaginary escape room, which is so fun. The only problem with this, it gave me a great worksheet that I can use and implement, but I do want to be able to see the process and solutions for this worksheet, so that way when they're done, they can have the answer key as a way to study. So I'm just going to put in the prompt, provide the solutions for this worksheet. You'll see that it took the same exact worksheet as before, went through and laid out step by step every single solution for the problems that it gave. So it does remember within the chats what you've talked about previously, and you can build off of those conversations. Legitimately like having a normal conversation with a person, it can continue to build off of that information and provide you with new data based off whatever you're asking for. So now I have a worksheet that the students can use, and then I have a worksheet that I can give them with all of the step-by-step solutions. And the best part is, it only took me a few minutes to get both of them. Another way ChatGPT could be helpful for teachers is by helping teachers create quizzes. So I'm going to put in another prompt here, create a 10-question quiz for 7th grade English class over sentences and fragments. When I tell it what format I want, I'm doing a quiz format, what grade level, and then what subject matter, sentences, and fragments. You're going to see that it put the response in a little bit different than the rest of my questions. Before it was basically just question, answer, but now I'm telling it a specific format to use. So when I say put it in quiz format, notice the difference with the response. It gives me a header up at the top. sentence and fragment quiz. Then it gives me the name and the date, and it goes through and lists each of those in question answer form with blanks provided, so that way they can put their answers in those blanks. When you go down to the bottom of each of your chats, you'll see some icons down there. If we look through those icons, the first one that you see is the windows behind each other. That's your copy. So if you just want to take it as it is and copy that chat, you can copy it, paste it in another document, and you have all that data there. You can thumbs up or thumbs down the response, depending on if you liked it or didn't like it, and ChatGPT will continue to take that feedback to see what responses you liked, what formats you liked, and what you didn't like. The next button is the audio button. It can read the response out loud. Then you have the pencil. What the pencil does is it will open it up in Canvas. If you open a chat in Canvas, that allows you to edit the response that ChatGPT gave you. So over on the left-hand side of your screen, you can still ask your questions as you normally would. You can continue to go off of the feedback that you just received and answer and ask more questions, and it will build that. Or in the right-hand side, the Canvas side, you can go in yourself and personally edit the response that it just gave you. You'll notice when I go in here and edit, I want to take out part 1, part 2, part 3, and I just want to have the statement of what I want them to do. Not only can I go in and edit the response that it gave me, but I can also ask ChatGPT to change whatever section I want. So if you look at question number 10, I'll highlight question number 10, and over on the right-hand side, one of the question bubbles pops up, and I'm just going to put rewrite this question. When I do that, it will go ahead and change that question without giving me a brand new response with everything already in there. It will modify just that one question that I wanted to change. You'll see over on the left-hand side that I asked the question, rewrite this question, and it gave me an edited response. I edited or I've updated this question to say, select the option that represents a complete sentence. So you can go through and modify different components of a question that you've already asked, so that way you can get it exactly the way that you want it. Now that I have my quiz, perfect, I'm going to take this and copy it, put it in a Word document, and inside my Word document, I can modify things like the format. So I can change the spacing of some things. I can make my lines a little longer or a little shorter, however I want that format to be. And once I have the format perfect, I can go ahead and print it. And now I have a brand new 10-question quiz over sentences and fragments. We've seen how we can use ChatGPT for some text-based things, but we can also use it for images, flyers, getting some creative ideas there. So my senior class is going to be having a coffee fundraiser. I want to get some inspiration for a coffee fundraiser, and I'm going to tell ChatGPT to create a flyer for the senior class fundraiser. The fundraiser is coffee. A small coffee is $2. A large coffee will be $4. The fundraiser will be held Friday, February 21st. So giving it details without too many details. And when I put in that prompt, you can see that it generates a flyer that I could send out for this coffee fundraiser. Now, I could take this and I could put it into a Word document and create a flyer, or put it in an email and send out that information. But I'm going to take this one step further. I'm going to tell it to create an image for this flyer. And when I tell it to create an image, it's going to take that data that I just gave it and generate an image based off of what it thinks I'm looking for in that flyer. So it gave me this big coffee fundraiser flyer, and I want to modify it just a little bit more so that way it meets the standards of the school. So our school colors can be purple and gold, and when I tell it to make the primary colors purple and gold, it will generate a brand new flyer based off of all of the data that I've given it so far, and it will give me a new image. From here, I can continue to tell it to make modifications if I want it to, or I can take it the way that it is. Now, keep in mind, this is an AI generated image, so it's not going to be perfect. If you zoom in on the image, it looks like the word fundraiser is misspelled. It looks like the small coffee is $2.20 in that right-hand corner. So there are a few things in here that could be edited and changed. You can take this image and download it and then re-upload it to a Photoshop software, Canva, or Photoshop itself. Put your flair on the flyer and have it exactly the way that you want, and then send it out. But this is a fantastic way to generate some thoughts, to get some inspiration on maybe a school fundraiser, flyer, something of that matter. The next thing that could be helpful for teachers is using ChatGPT to analyze some data. As teachers, we want to know if students are struggling, what they're struggling on, how our tests and quizzes are going. So if you have data from whatever system you're using for your grades, you can download all of that data and then upload it to ChatGPT and have ChatGPT analyze the data for you. I just have some made up data here that's called student scores, and I have a student with test scores. This is just one test that they took, and I want to determine how many A, B, C, D, and Fs there are with this specific test. So I can choose to upload this data, and I said, analyze the test scores to see what students earned, and then I have my following grades. When I upload that data to the system and tell it to analyze it, you can see that it tells me it's using a 10-point grading system to calculate my A, B, C, D, so forth. When I look at the data that it gave me, it says I have 18 A's, 19 B's, 14 C's, 8 D's. So far, I have a cute little bell curve going on until I see the F's. I have 13 F's. Obviously, as a teacher, we don't want to have 13 F's. I am going to take this and go one step further because my school uses a weighted scale. So this one was a 10-point scale. I needed to take all of this data that it just gave me and translate it into a weighted, a 7-point grading scale. So again, being more general, I just said, take this into a weighted grading scale. And it asked me, what do you mean by weighted? And I told it specifically, I need a 7-point grading scale. Once I told it a 7-point grading scale, it took all of that, reprocessed my data. Now I have 13 A's, 15 B's, 13 C's, 10 D's, and 21 F's. So I'm going to take this just a little bit further. I'm going to take the data that I got from the specific questions of the test and see what happened, what went wrong. Is there a specific section that I need to spend more time teaching? Is it just specific students that did not put in the effort? Where's the translation with the 21 F's? So I'm going to take this data now by question and upload it into ChatGPT to see exactly what happened here. With this one, I just put, what are the 3 most missed questions on the test? And it will analyze it, all 71 students that I had, it will analyze it and tell me question 4, question 10, and question 3. So then I can look back at those specific questions to find out, was it a wording issue? Did I not cover that concept well enough? What needs to happen in the future so that way we don't have as many F's as before. I'm going to take this and go even deeper with it. Instead of just trying to see what questions we're having trouble on, I want to know specifically my students that are having trouble. So I said, identify the top 10 struggling students based off of this specific test. And then when it analyzes that, it will tell me, and right now I had them categorized by their student IDs. So it's going to pull up my 10 struggling students, and it gives me that data, tells me the score that they got on their test. It also asks me its own prompts, like, do I want to go further and identify their weak areas? So I have my top 10 struggling students. What sections were they weak on? So I put in there to identify their weak areas, and it said, here are the weakest areas for each of these struggling students. And it told me the specific questions that they were struggling with. At the very end, it gave me an analysis, and it told me it looks like question 1, 2, and 3 are reoccurring weak spots among the struggling students. Again, telling me exactly what's going on with that data so I know how to fix it, change it, reevaluate before our next test. Whenever you're going in to put in a chat, you're going to see the plus sign that we've already looked at where you can upload data. Next to it, you see the search button. That search button is there because ChatGPT is a trained model, so it's only trained up to a certain point. The model that I'm using right now, I pulled up the statistic and it says this training goes back to June of 2024. So if I need more updated knowledge past June of 2024, that search button right there, that's going to pull to the web and allow me to search the most recent knowledge that I have. The next button that we see to the right of that is the reason button. And I want to explain this reason button. ChatGPT, whenever we see it, just gives us the results. Sometimes we want to know how it got to those results to see if that's the way that we want to get to those results. So, for example, when it was analyzing my student test scores, I clicked the reason button and I just put in there, how did you analyze this data? So that way I know if this is the way that I would go about analyzing the data. With that reason section, it's going to describe the analytical process that it went through in order to come up with the answer that I got. So it tells me, it analyzed the data, gave me a question analysis, identified the struggling students, and then pinpointed the weak areas. And it tells you the calculations that it used to get those answers. So not only can ChatGPT help you with some creation of your materials, it can also help you analyze some of your statistical data so that way you know how to help your struggling students. The last thing that we just want to look at are the different types of GPTs that are out there. So our ChatGPT is mainly just text-based answer questions, stuff like that. There are a bunch of different ones out there that are specifically honed in, so they're trained specifically for different platforms. So if you click on Explore ChatGPT in the top right-hand corner of your screen, there's different versions of GPT that you can try that are specifically formatted for whatever you're looking for. This is just the beginning. Remember, it's not perfect, but it is there to help you save time, give you some inspiration and ideas. Hopefully, you can use ChatGPT this week to make your life just a little more simple.